Ladies and gentlemen, the desire for vengeance is one of the most powerful and deeply rooted emotions that humans experience. When we feel wronged, hurt, or betrayed, a natural response can be the craving for revenge, a longing to restore balance by inflicting pain or harm on those who caused us suffering. On the surface, this desire feels satisfying, even sweet, because it promises justice, control, and the relief of pent-up anger. Yet beneath this surface lies a hidden poison, one that slowly and relentlessly eats away at our emotional and mental health. To understand why the desire for vengeance feels so satisfying but ultimately harms us, we must explore the complex psychology behind vengeance, its short-term appeal, and its long-term consequences. First, the appeal of vengeance is rooted in our instinctual desire for fairness and justice. Human beings have an innate sense of right and wrong, and when that sense is violated, we experience intense emotional turmoil. This sense of injustice triggers a fight or flight response, and vengeance emerges as a form of fight, a way to reclaim our dignity, self-respect, and power. The idea of getting even, or making them pay, gives us a sense of agency and control in situations where we otherwise feel powerless. This perceived restoration of balance can create an immediate sense of satisfaction, a feeling that justice has been served. This satisfaction is further reinforced by what psychologists call the reward system in the brain. When we imagine or carry out acts of revenge, our brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This chemical response creates a temporary high, a rush of feeling that can be mistaken for true healing or closure. It's this biological reinforcement that makes vengeance so seductive and difficult to resist. The sweetness of vengeance, in this sense, is not just a metaphor. It is a physiological experience that convinces us that revenge is the path to peace. Moreover, the desire for vengeance can serve as a way to protect our ego and self-identity. When we are wronged, our sense of self-worth can be threatened, and vengeance becomes a means of defending ourselves against feelings of humiliation, shame, or vulnerability. By retaliating, we signal to ourselves and others that we will not be mistreated or disrespected. This act can momentarily boost our self-esteem and provide a sense of empowerment, reinforcing the idea that vengeance is a justifiable and even noble response to hurt. Despite these short-term benefits, the desire for vengeance carries significant costs that damage our emotional and mental health over time. One of the most profound harms is the way vengeance keeps us emotionally tethered to the original pain. Rather than allowing wounds to heal, holding on to the desire for revenge keeps those wounds fresh and open. This emotional fixation traps us in a cycle of anger and resentment that can dominate our thoughts and feelings, preventing us from moving forward. This ongoing focus on the offense can lead to chronic stress, which has a wide range of negative effects on mental and physical health. When we remain angry and vengeful, our bodies stay in a heightened state of alertness, releasing stress hormones like cortisol. Over time, this chronic stress can contribute to anxiety, depression, weakened immune function, and cardiovascular problems. The poison of vengeance, therefore, is not just emotional. It is physiological, gradually eroding our overall well-being. Vengeance also harms our mental clarity and peace of mind. When consumed by the desire for revenge, our thoughts become consumed by negative ruminations. We replay the hurtful event over and over, imagining different ways to retaliate or punish. This mental replay not only reinforces negative emotions, but also distracts us from positive aspects of life. our focus narrows to the pain and injustice, overshadowing opportunities for joy, growth, and connection. This cognitive narrowing reduces our capacity for creativity, problem-solving, and effective decision-making. The emotional exhaustion caused by vengeance can lead to a pervasive sense of bitterness and cynicism. As we dwell on wrongs, we may begin to view the world as hostile and unfair. This outlook can breed mistrust and suspicion toward others, isolating us socially and emotionally. Relationships suffer as we become defensive, reactive, or closed off. The poison of vengeance thus extends beyond the self, corroding our connections with others and creating loneliness and alienation. In addition to emotional and mental harm, vengeance can perpetuate cycles of conflict and violence. When we seek revenge, we often provoke retaliation in return, escalating disputes and prolonging pain. This cycle of retaliation affects not only individuals but entire communities and societies. The sweetness of vengeance, then, comes at the cost of peace and harmony, both personally and collectively. By engaging in revenge, we may inadvertently become agents of harm, perpetuating suffering rather than healing it. Another significant cost of vengeance is the way it stunts personal growth and healing. True emotional recovery requires acceptance, forgiveness, and letting go of past hurts. When we cling to vengeance, we resist these processes, remaining stuck in victimhood and grievance. This resistance limits our capacity to learn from adversity, develop resilience, and cultivate compassion. It keeps us tied to a painful past rather than moving toward a hopeful future. The pursuit of vengeance can also distort our values and priorities. When revenge becomes central to our motivation, it can overshadow other important aspects of life, such as love, kindness, gratitude, and purpose. This imbalance can lead us to make choices that are destructive or counterproductive, harming ourselves and those around us. The sweetness of vengeance, in this sense, is a false sweetness, a temporary pleasure that undermines our deeper fulfillment and meaning. Furthermore, vengeance often fails to bring the closure or healing we seek. While it may provide a momentary sense of satisfaction, this feeling is usually fleeting. The underlying pain, betrayal, or loss remains unaddressed, continuing to affect our emotional landscape. In some cases, acts of revenge may even deepen our wounds by escalating conflicts or creating new problems. This cycle leaves us perpetually chasing a satisfaction that remains out of reach. The desire for vengeance can also interfere with our spiritual well-being. Many spiritual traditions teach the importance of forgiveness, compassion, and letting go of grudges as pathways to peace and enlightenment. When we hold on to vengeance, we resist these teachings and the healing they offer. This resistance can create inner conflict and spiritual disconnection, preventing us from experiencing the fullness of peace and joy that forgiveness can bring. On a practical level, vengeance can have legal, social, and personal consequences that complicate our lives. Acting on revenge impulses may lead to harmful behaviors that damage our reputation, relationships, or freedom. The short-lived pleasure of vengeance is often outweighed by long-term consequences that bring regret, guilt, or loss. This reality further highlights the poison hidden beneath the sweetness of vengeance. Recognizing the dangers of vengeance is the first step toward breaking free from its harmful grip. It requires honest self-reflection and courage to acknowledge the true costs of holding on to anger and resentment. It also involves developing emotional awareness and skills to manage difficult feelings in healthier ways. Practices such as mindfulness, therapy, and support from trusted others can aid in this process, helping us move from vengeance toward healing. Ultimately, understanding why the desire for vengeance feels satisfying but harms us allows us to make conscious choices about how to respond to hurt. It invites us to seek alternatives that promote healing, growth, and peace. While vengeance may seem sweet in the moment, its poison undermines our well-being and happiness. Choosing forgiveness and compassion, though often challenging, opens the door to genuine freedom and emotional restoration. By recognizing the complex dynamics behind vengeance, we empower ourselves to break free from its toxic cycle. We learn that true justice and peace come not from inflicting pain, but from releasing it. We discover that the sweetest victory is the one that restores our hearts and minds, allowing us to live fully and freely. This understanding transforms not only our emotional and mental health, but also our relationships and life trajectory, leading to a more meaningful and fulfilling existence. Choosing forgiveness and letting go is one of the most powerful decisions a person can make to break free from the cycle of poison that vengeance brings and to reclaim true freedom and peace. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as a weak or passive act, but in reality, it is an active and courageous choice that transforms not only our relationship with others, but also our inner world. By choosing forgiveness, we step off the path of bitterness, anger, and pain and open ourselves to healing, growth, and liberation. To fully grasp how forgiveness breaks the cycle and leads to freedom, we need to explore its true nature, the processes involved, and the profound impacts it has on our emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. Forgiveness begins with the acknowledgement of hurt and the willingness to face it honestly. It does not deny or minimize the pain caused by others, nor does it require forgetting or excusing wrongdoing. Instead, forgiveness is the deliberate decision to release the hold that anger, resentment, and the desire for revenge have over us. This release is an act of self-liberation, choosing peace over conflict, healing over suffering, and freedom over captivity. Forgiveness means we no longer allow the offense to define our emotional state or control our actions. One of the key ways forgiveness breaks the poison of vengeance is by disrupting the cycle of rumination and fixation on the hurt. When we hold on to anger and resentment, our minds become trapped in repetitive negative thinking, replaying the offense and fueling our desire for revenge. This mental loop reinforces emotional pain and keeps the wound open. Forgiveness interrupts this pattern by shifting our focus away from the offense and toward healing. It allows our minds to rest from the exhausting work of anger and pain, creating space for positive thoughts, emotions, and growth. Forgiveness also restores emotional balance by releasing toxic feelings that weigh heavily on the heart and mind. Holding on to grudges and resentment generates chronic stress, which affects our physical health and mental clarity. Forgiving frees us from this toxic burden, reducing stress hormones and calming the nervous system. This restoration of balance promotes emotional resilience, enabling us to face future challenges with greater equanimity and strength. Forgiveness becomes a foundation for lasting peace rather than temporary relief. In the process of forgiveness, compassion plays a crucial role. Forgiveness invites us to cultivate empathy for both ourselves and those who have caused harm. Understanding that everyone is fallible and carries their own struggles helps soften the harsh judgments that fuel anger. Compassion does not mean condoning harmful behavior, but it opens the door to seeing others with humanity and recognizing that pain often begets pain. This compassionate perspective fosters emotional healing and breaks down the walls of bitterness that divide us from others. Forgiveness is also a powerful act of reclaiming personal power. When we cling to vengeance, we give away our power to those who have wronged us, allowing them to dictate our emotional state and actions. Forgiving shifts this dynamic by placing control back in our hands. We decide how we respond to hurt, choosing freedom and peace rather than bondage to anger. This empowerment enhances self-esteem and confidence, reinforcing our ability to navigate life's challenges with grace. Letting go through forgiveness has profound spiritual implications as well. Many spiritual traditions emphasize forgiveness as a path to enlightenment, inner peace, and connection with the divine. Forgiveness aligns us with values of love, mercy, and grace, transforming our relationship with ourselves and others. This spiritual dimension deepens the healing process and provides a sense of meaning and purpose that sustains us beyond the moment of forgiveness. Forgiveness also transforms our relationships by paving the way for reconciliation, healing, or peaceful acceptance. While forgiveness does not always lead to reconciliation, it prepares us emotionally to engage with others without the baggage of anger and bitterness. This emotional readiness fosters healthier communication, reduces conflict, and rebuilds trust where possible. Even when reconciliation is not feasible or safe, forgiveness enables us to release resentment and maintain our peace. Choosing forgiveness encourages a shift in life perspective from victimhood to agency. When we forgive, we refuse to be defined or trapped by our suffering. Instead, we take an active role in our healing and growth. This shift nurtures resilience and optimism, empowering us to create a future that is not overshadowed by past hurts. Forgiveness opens our eyes to opportunities for joy, connection, and fulfillment that may have been obscured by pain. The process of letting go through forgiveness also enhances our emotional intelligence. Forgiveness requires self-awareness to recognize painful emotions, empathy to understand others' perspectives, and emotional regulation to release anger constructively. Developing these skills improves our ability to manage relationships, cope with stress, and maintain mental well-being. Forgiveness becomes a practice that enriches all areas of our emotional lives. Forgiveness fosters gratitude and appreciation as well. As we release bitterness, we become more attuned to the positive aspects of our lives and relationships. This shift in focus cultivates a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity, increasing happiness and life satisfaction. Gratitude and forgiveness together create a virtuous cycle of positive emotions that support lasting well-being. The decision to forgive is often challenging because it requires vulnerability, courage, and sometimes patience. Healing from deep wounds is rarely instantaneous. It involves confronting painful memories and emotions, which can feel overwhelming. However, the willingness to engage in this difficult work is what leads to true freedom. Each step toward forgiveness weakens the hold of poison and strengthens our capacity for peace. Forgiveness also changes how we experience time and memory. Instead of being haunted by the past, forgiveness allows us to view painful events with perspective and acceptance. This shift reduces the emotional charge associated with memories, enabling us to live more fully in the present. Freed from the chains of past offenses, we can invest our energy in building a meaningful and joyful life. Choosing forgiveness influences not only our individual well-being but also the collective environment. When we forgive, we contribute to a culture of healing and compassion that can ripple outward to families, communities, and societies. Breaking cycles of vengeance reduces conflict and promotes peace on larger scales. Our personal choices in forgiveness thus become acts of social transformation, In essence, forgiveness is an invitation to reclaim our humanity and restore our wholeness. It allows us to transform pain into wisdom, suffering into strength, and loss into love. The freedom gained through forgiveness is profound. It liberates us from the poison of vengeance and opens the door to a life of peace, joy, and authentic connection. Through this powerful choice to forgive and let go, we redefine our relationship with the past, ourselves, and others. We embrace a path of healing that transcends the sweetness of vengeance and reveals the deeper sweetness of freedom. Forgiveness becomes not just a response to hurt, but a way of life that nurtures resilience, compassion, and hope, guiding us toward a future unburdened by pain.